The Trump Organization's longtime accounting firm cutting ties with the former president and saying that his company has nearly a decade of financial statements that can no longer be trusted. In a letter, the firm Mazars says it cannot stand behind statements that it prepared for Donald Trump from all the way back in 2011 up until 2020. CNN's Kara Scannell is joining us now. This is extraordinary. Tell us what's happening here.
Yeah, Brianna, a significant development overnight. Just yesterday, there was this new court filing in the New York Attorney General's civil investigation where they provided this letter that Mazars had sent to the Trump Organization last week. And in this letter, Mazars says that the Trump Organization should no longer rely on 10 years of financial statements. They also said that they quit. So in this letter, they cite three reasons. They say their own internal investigation, they say internal and external sources, and they point to some of the public allegations that the New York Attorney General's office has made. They said that there were multiple misstatements in these financials, including the amount of cash that the Trump Organization said it had on hand, the value of some golf courses, and even the size of Donald Trump's apartment at Trump Tower. Now, in this letter, Mazars writes, "Well, we have not concluded that the various financial statements as a whole contain material discrepancies. Based upon the totality of the circumstances, we believe our advice to you to no longer rely upon those financial statements is appropriate." They also said that the Trump Organization should tell that any lenders, bankers, insurers, that they should no longer rely on these financial statements. So a big development. They also said that they would no longer do any additional accounting work for the Trump Organization, citing an unwaverable conflict of interest. And we have been reporting that Mazars has been cooperating with the New York Attorney General's investigation, as well as the Manhattan District Attorney's criminal investigation. One of their top accountants has been cooperating. He even testified before the grand jury. So again, this is a big, significant development here, and it comes as part of the New York Attorney General's effort to try to get testimony from the former president, Donald Trump Jr., and Ivanka Trump under oath. Brianna?
Yeah, Kara, thank you for that report, Kara Scannell.
I want to bring an investigative reporter and the author of The Big Cheat, How Donald Trump Fleeced America and Enriched Himself and His Family, David K. Johnson. David, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Mazars dumped the Trump Organization. What's the significance of that?
Well, it's very important in Donald's case because he's facing questions about running a racketeering enterprise, and running a fraudulent company is at the very center of that, so that his accountants have turned against him and disavowed these compilations they put together, where they said, well, here's what our client Donald said these things were worth, here's how much money he said he had in the bank, without checking it, which is what we expect accountants to do. Indicates Donald is more and more being separated from people who can do him great harm by simply telling the truth.
What happens if Mazars cooperates with investigators, which by all accounts, it does seem that they are?
Well, Donald Bender, the Mazars accountant who prepares Trump's tax returns, testified before the Manhattan grand jury. And New York has this very unusual law. If you testify before the grand jury, you are granted immunity. That's not true at the federal level and in other states. So he no longer is in concern personally for anything he may have done from the Manhattan prosecutors, but it does mean that Mazars is helping the prosecutors put together what I expect will be a racketeering case, a New York State racketeering case against Trump, the Trump Organization, Alan Weiselberg, and probably Donald's three oldest children.
Well, there are two separate cases going on here, right? There's the civil case, which is from the Attorney General, Letitia James, in the Mazars letter, where they dumped the Trump Organization, pertains directly to that. But you are saying you believe this also has criminal implications?
Oh, absolutely. But in the Attorney General's case, while a civil matter, very clearly is aimed at trying to flesh out how Donald cheated banks, insurers, investors. And of course, this is in the context of Donald and Don Jr. and Ivanka saying, we shouldn't have to testify before you. There's no reason for you to testify. In fact, they actually asserted that the statement by Mazars makes the criminal and civil investigations moot, which is utter, complete nonsense.
I do think when an accounting firm says that 10 years worth of numbers can't be trusted and announces that to the world, what does that do to your business?
Well, Donald's going to have a very hard time doing business if A, he doesn't have someone to prepare his tax returns and to vet him on behalf of banks. He may find banks who are unwilling to do business with him, even at the level of a checking account, because of their concerns that they will be drawn into this widening investigations of Trump and his businesses. And by the way, I think that the accounting profession needs to reform itself and say no more of these compilations where we put our name on a document that we have not checked out the numbers behind it. That's an utterly corrupt practice that should have been ended a long time ago.
Where do you think this ends for Donald Trump and the Trump Organization?
Well, the civil matter by Letitia James is going to result in a civil suit making numerous charges of falsification of documents, false claims, and obtaining benefits as a result. The Manhattan grand jury is eventually going to indict Donald Trump. They got 5 million pages of documents, John, and they have to go through every one of them before they can finish their work. But Donald Trump will be indicted on a state racketeering charge. I'm confident of that. And perhaps in Westchester County by Mimi Rocha, the new DA there, and in Fulton County, Georgia, by Fannie Willis, who's looking into voter fraud and now has a grand jury just for the purpose of investigating Trump's effort to interfere with the Georgia vote count.
And again, there are going to be people who watch this and say, David K. Johnson is saying this, but Trump has, in their minds, gotten away with so many different things in so many areas over the years. Why is this different? And why does this new piece of information with Mazars bode particularly ill?
Well, Donald has learned very well from the notorious Roy Cohn how to evade and denounce law enforcement, and he's gotten away with stuff I've been writing about since the late 80s. But what's different here is you now have seasoned teams of prosecutors and civil investigators from the Attorney General who know what they're looking for, and they have lots of witnesses who've come in and testified about what Donald is doing, and his web of lies is catching up with him finally after all of these years, after the New Jersey casino authorities failed to do their job and regulate him to the point that he actually cheated customers at one of his casinos, the only time that ever happened in Atlantic City. Finally, you're having focused law enforcement on Donald Trump, which never would have happened if he hadn't become president.
And I will say, everyone we've spoken with says an accounting firm to do a break like this is a very rare thing. David K. Johnson, thank you. Yes, see, there you go. This does not happen every day, so this is significant in and of itself. Appreciate it.